Good morning. Hello there. I'm Charlie Haldeman. This is First News Forum on Channel 12. Thanks so much for joining us. Once again, our guest, State Senator Jay Paul Gumm of Durant, and a recurring role here on Forum, by the way.
Glad to be back. Enjoy it.
Appreciate you coming by. Let's talk a little bit, I guess, pick up where we left off. Last time you were here, we talked a little bit about the initiative, the autism insurance initiative, and anything else going on in the legislature that's coming up in the next few months. But let's hit on some of those things to start off.
Well, in autism, we are seeing a lot of activity, if not a lot of movement down the field. The House of Representatives, where the bill met an untimely demise once, twice, thrice, and four times.
Four times.
They are undertaking an interim study to, I think, at least try to take some of the political pressure off of them. I don't think much is going to come out of this. It's being conducted by the very same committee whose chairman chose, not to hear Nick's law several times, and then chose not to run for re-election. So he's an absolute lame duck up there, simply trying to remove political heat that's being brought to bear. And Nick's law is being talked about in a lot of campaigns all across Oklahoma. Democratic candidates, Republican candidates. It's really crossed the party lines like it has all over the nation, everywhere except in the House of Representatives. And we've actually begun to see some cracking in the Republican caucus on this issue. We knew last session there were enough Republicans who would have voted for the bill to have passed the bill if we had ever gotten a vote on the House floor. A few weeks ago, one of the members of the Republican caucus, Representative David Dank from mid-Oklahoma City, he really took his leadership to task in a public forum for not giving the bill a hearing. So it's good to see people who are willing to stand up to their leadership. And I think that's important on either side of the aisle. We're not elected to go up there and follow the leadership blindly. We're elected to represent the people in our districts. And sometimes that means looking leadership in the eye and saying, doggone it, you're wrong on this one. And Representative Dank showed a lot of courage to do that, especially given the history the House caucus has for punishing their members who get off that very narrow line.
Is that why you don't see a lot of, I guess, mavericking, if there's such a word, because of that fear of punishment down the road, a vengeance?
Well, absolutely, and you'll get people who will charge that someone's a rhino, a Republican in name only.
Right.
I've been accused of being a dino, a Democrat in name only, because I vote my district, and I vote my conscience, and that is independent of any political party. I'm proud to be a Democrat because, in general, from a philosophical standpoint, I fit more nicely into that thinking, that you help those who can't help themselves, is what it boils down to, and that you believe in public education, because I think that's the only reason we're the last superpower left, because we educate everybody. Those are the reasons I'm a Democrat, but that doesn't mean I'm going to toe the party line if I think they're wrong. The other side has been much more willing to enforce the party discipline, and they did that last year on Nick's law. We tried a trick that's not been used in probably 20, 30 years in the House of Representatives. It's called the discharge petition, where if you get 2/3 of the members of the House of Representatives, they can pull a bill out of a committee and put it on the floor of the House. 4 Republican members of the House of Representatives had the courage to sign that discharge petition. And then they had a caucus. And then the hammer fell, and no one else was willing to sign it. That's not the way democracy is supposed to work. It's not the way representative democracy is supposed to work. So we're going to continue to apply the pressure, and I frankly don't care if the House leadership feels the heat or sees the light, as long as we get this done for autistic children in Oklahoma.
What about talking party and caucuses when it comes to the national races, the regional races? How does that play in, namely with the presidential election coming up? We were talking off camera about, I know Texas, solid red state. You're not going to see many political TV ads in Texas or Oklahoma because they're not considered swing states.
Yeah, neither one of our states are in play according to the polling that I've seen, and if you look at the historical pattern of both Texas and Oklahoma, we're really not in play. So it'll be very unlikely to see either Senator Obama or Senator McCain spend money here when they've got to spend it in Ohio and Florida and Pennsylvania and Colorado and those places that the electoral vote will actually determine who the next president is. So we get to sit that one out, but there's going to be a U.S. Senate race in Oklahoma, which will be an interesting race. We have Senator Andrew Rice, a very newly elected state senator from Midtown Oklahoma City, who's running against the venerable incumbent Jim Inhofe. And Senator Inhofe is one of the legendary campaigners out there. And I think Senator Rice entered this race knowing full well what to expect, and he's gotten that. So it's going to be an interesting debate to see how that one shapes up.
I've noticed, and especially on our station, the political ads for that race have heated up as we run closer to November. But I've noticed that Inhofe's campaign is actually calling out Rice by name. They are paying attention to the opponent, if you will. Most people, if you feel you have a big lead or your heads and shoulders, you're going to ignore your opponent. Why do you think that that's going on? I mean, he's actually calling him. There is what you would call an informative ad or an attack ad running right now that's paid for by the Inhofe people. That's really targeting Rice and his record. That's strange to me because Inhofe's the incumbent here,
and it's awfully early as well for something like that. If Inhofe's team is putting that out in September, you got to wonder what they got in the bag for October, because you generally ratchet up the rhetoric the closer you get to November, and for this kind of stuff to be being shot across the bow in both campaigns already in September, it's going to be a pretty nasty campaign come October. And that's probably one of the regrettable things that's happened about politics right now is you get less the ability to really talk about issues and where you want to take an area, and you've got to talk about one or two votes you might have cast over time, and those are important, absolutely. But the campaigns have become very, very negative and very, very expensive. The old Will Rogers joke from 70 years ago, takes a lot of money just to get beat with, it is really true now, too. And I would like to see more focus on the issues and a, for lack of a better word, a debate between the two candidates rather than this kind of back and forth that you're going to see. And there's going to be out-of-state money coming in to fund a lot of these on both sides, and it's really going to cloud the discussion that I think really ought to happen.
Kind of going back to the Will Rogers comment, that makes me wonder how a state senator can afford to run for United States Senate. I mean, that's quite a jump.
There are a lot of people who aren't big fans of Senator Inhofe who are going to contribute to Senator Rice in Oklahoma and outside of Oklahoma. Vice versa, there's a lot of fans of Senator Inhofe that are going to give a lot of money, and right now Senator Inhofe has, last numbers I saw, a 3-to-1 lead in fundraising.
Outpacing in fundraising.
Which is not to be unexpected with an incumbent who's been in Washington for 22 years. They're going to have the connects, and they're going to be able to raise the money pretty easily.
How does that, in your mind, influence a candidate, let alone an office holder? I mean, you're in office now. It takes quite a bit of resources to run, and I mean, not just physically, but financially as well. How does that factor on a candidate or an office holder's mind once they're elected, that they have that kind of support? I mean, how does that weigh in? Surely there's got to be, well, I've got to really be careful here. They know up front that I'm that I'm my own man, but I'm going to support them. Well, how do you walk the line?
If you're going to be in this business, you've got to be able to take someone's money and then vote against them the next day. Because campaign contributions do not buy votes. I see them as investments in good government. And there have been people that have contributed significantly to me, who, if I didn't think their position was the right one to take, I voted against them and didn't have any problem voting on that. Because you go in with the understanding they're not buying your vote, they're investing in good government. And if your contributors enter into that when they give you the contribution and that's their thinking, then the system doesn't break down. If someone makes their vote based on, how's this going to affect my fundraising, then we have a problem. And it has to be an investment in good government. Short of that, you've got to go to some kind of public financing of campaigns, and that's problematic as well. And then you also get into, people are more likely to give to you if they share your
if they like you.
if they like you and share your beliefs on issues. So it all kind of plays in there.
All right. State Senator Jay Paul Gumm is our guest on First News Forum. If you haven't noticed, we bring him in for his political science expertise as well as the fact he is our state senator. We'll be right back on First News Forum. Stay with us.